Hey guys, welcome back to Magic the Gathering Online, Finance, Economics, and Speculation. We're going to give you a sweet update today and cover a few things. Had my internet go out this last week. My internet was absolutely destroyed, so it's good to be back online again. Had some interesting twists and turns occur. I had those 12 Gideons that I was going to sell once they got up to 20, so sure enough they got up to 20. My internet goes out. I want to sell these Gideons, but I can't. And now they've crashed back to 15. So, welcome to Magic Online, right? But it's all good, man. You know, these things happen. It's a cycle. Anyway, so we're gonna cover a few different things today. Kind of hit a few different things. I want to start out though by just talking about fetch lands and shock lands real quick, just to kind of set the stage. Right now, I'm currently recommending fetch lands as a very solid long-term buy and hold, and by long-term we're talking in terms of Magic the Gathering Online. Long-term is somewhere 6 months to a year, something like that. So let's take a look at Shocklands first. These are the Return to Ravnica Shockland printings. Now this is way back in time. We're going all the way back to early 2013, late 2012. Return to Ravnica comes out. We're talking like 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. It's been a long time. And right now, Steam Vince is $3. Blood Crypt is $2.25. You can get a Temple Garden for $1.87, and Overgrown Tomb is $1.50. And this is just one of those things where the Shocklands just haven't really done much. They really have not been that great. You can see that the highest price Overgrown Tomb ever hit was $8.80. Its lowest price ever is 60 cents, and it's $1.48. So it's a lot closer to its lowest price than its highest price after 5.5 years of hanging out. And I mean, this is just kind of the way Shocklands have gone. They just have not really killed it in terms of being a sweet investment online. If you bought these 5 years ago thinking you would just buy them, hold them for a few years, and make instant money, sadly that did not work out. Looking at some Gatecrash shocks, it's pretty much the same story. Breeding Pool $1.74, Godless Shine $3.73. The Stomping Grounds are up 6 tickets, so I mean there's something there. Sacred Foundry $3.91. Godless, let's see here, Watery Grave $3.32. Breeding Pools are pretty cheap at $1.74, so that's where that's at. Now, the thing to keep in mind is it's been like 5 years since we got the Shocklands. But the fetch lands just got reprinted. So if you ever wanted to get in on fetch lands, now is a sweet time. And fetch lands are seeing play in Legacy, Commander, Modern. Not that Commander's that big online right now, but it's still one of those things you got to keep in mind. And right now, when you look at where the fetch lands are at with the Modern Masters 2017 reprints, that was just this year. So it's a very reasonable expectation that we're not going to see reprints again on the enemy fetches for quite a while. Scalding Tarn is already ridiculously high, around 24 tickets. Verdant Catacombs is around 12. But Arid Mesa, Marsh Flats, and Misty Rainforest are all around 8 tickets. Between 850 and 8 tickets. So I don't think these are terrible pickups. I particularly like Misty Rainforest because throughout the history of Magic, blue has been a broken color. Maybe that era is over, but I don't think so. And right now, blue-green may not be the most inviting color combination in Modern, but things are cyclical, and I feel like Misty Rainforest is probably never going to be a Scalding Tarn, but it could certainly have some sweet growth potential. So I really like Misty Rainforest right now. I think that picking up some Arid Mesas and Marsh Flats is fine. Although I'm not really thrilled at these price points. I don't know, like I've got some, but I'm a lot more interested right now probably in the Khans fetch lands. I kind of have my positions where I want them. In fact, you can kind of see here's some of the fetch lands. I've got a portfolio I'm working on right now, and mostly I've just been picking up fetch lands. I think now is a really good time to pick up fetch lands. You can see I've got about 50 Misty Rainforest between the two different versions. Just a playset of Foothills and a playset of Windswept Heaths right now. I'd like to get more of these. I'd really like to get more of all of the Khans fetch lands, but I'm just trying to buy them when they hit dips. If either Wooded Foothills or Windswept Heath was to say dip tomorrow by 50 cents, I would try to buy up some more playsets. I think Flooded Strand, I may buy up some more, but again, it's just very price dependent. I don't really care what the fetch land. If it's a Khans fetch land and I can get in, around 550 or 6, to me that's a really sweet deal. These are a couple years old already, but I still think it's going to be a while before we see a reprint, because it just really hasn't been nearly long enough. So I think right now, even though fetch lands are more expensive than shock lands, I think fetch lands are a pretty sweet pickup for doing some long-term speculation. Another thing I wanted to kind of show you guys real quick is just kind of what I basically do. This is the first portfolio I ever did. It's basically just tracking my specs. I put in 776 tickets, and what I do is I just put down the card's name, how much I bought a card for, how many copies I bought, maybe my total cost for that particular spec, and then I do that for all the cards that I pick up. Sometimes I'll note the date of the transaction, because it is handy to know how long you're holding a card, and then between the buy time and the sell time gives you a good idea of exactly how long you were stuck on the card. Shorter periods are better, of course. And then here's my sell sheet, where I just do the same thing again, where I put the card's name down, how many I sold, the purchase price, again, track the dates. It's helpful. The sell price, and then I like to track the gross revenue or the gross profit. And what I do, just for a quick glimpse, is I'll mark cards that were specs that were profitable in green and specs that were not profitable in red, just so at a glance I can see how I was doing. The stuff that's whited out, I just never got around to closing out, so it's basically should be marked red as losses, but I still have the cards laying around in my collection. So anyway, I put in 776 tickets on this, and I got back 846, so I made about 70 tickets. Most of this stuff was really closed out towards November, and I started picking this stuff up in October. So I mean, this was within a couple of months. I put in 776 tickets, and within a couple months I got 70 tickets back on my money, so not terrible. There's a lot of people out there who would do a lot better, but it was not terrible for a first run through. And I'll show you. I've got a what I call my 2K portfolio. I've got 2,000 tickets, about 2,000 tickets I put in. I'm still unwinding it right now, so maybe sometime in the next month or so I'll give you guys a glimpse at that once I get it all wrapped up. Noteworthy lessons from my very first go at this. The biggest thing is stay the heck away from standard rares that are printed in the newest set that are currently being drafted, unless they are just absolutely bonkers. But buying Toolcraft exemplars when Kaladesh was still relatively new was just one of the stupidest things I've ever done. And buying Demon of Dark Schemes and Cataclysmic Gearhulk at the prices that I picked those up at, I got the Demons at 63 cents and the Cataclysmic Gearhulks at $1.75. Pretty stupid, but not as stupid as buying Toolcraft exemplar, because even though bad mythics, picking those up, paying too much for them, they're mythics, so you never know, maybe something funky happens and they turn around. But it's just almost a surefire loser picking up rares in the current set as a spec. You need to give those sets time to hit a critical mass of saturation and for prices to stabilize and get a good sense of the meta. So anyway, that was a great lesson. Fortunately, it didn't cost me too much, about 10 tickets to learn that lesson, and lost around 14 on Cataclysmic Gearhulk, but that's okay. It's you're going to have some losses with any portfolio you put together. The key is you just need enough profits to overcome the losses. And I guess I'll always have some Toolcraft exemplars and Cataclysmic Gearhulks to remind me to be careful about buying into sets that are new. So anyway, those are a few of the things I wanted to cover. Another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is just some of the ideas about confidence level and horizons. So right now I'm about 90% confident that picking up fetch lands is a good idea generally, although the price points you pick them up at do matter. I mean, you want to pick up your fetch lands on a day where, you know, they've hit a dip. So I'm right now, like I said, I'm buying cons fetch lands, and I want to buy them on a day when, you know, they've gone down and taken a hard dip for $1 or 50 cents or something like that. And I also want to buy them at a point where, you know, on their curve, they're at a, you know, at a pretty good point in terms of being not too far off from a relative low. So like when we look at Windswept Heath right now, we can kind of see that generally, you know, around 670, this around 6 tickets here, 6 tickets here, 6 tickets here. We can see it's repeatedly dipped down to around 6 tickets. And it's close. It's at 667 right now, just kind of stabilizing out. So I'm really hoping that these will dip one more time around 6 tickets. Now, here around 621, I was either out of town or my internet was out. I would have loved to pick some up there. But I mean, if I could buy Windswept Heaths at 6 tickets, I'd like to pick up around 20 of them. And that's just true for any cons fetch land. I don't really care what the color combinations are. I don't care how relevant it is in the meta. A year from now, everything could completely change. So I just want to be diversified and have a stack of each of them. And if I get a nice spike on any one of them, I'll just sell it right off the bat. But that's one of the things I'm looking at right now, is you just want to pay attention. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm not confident that any of these are going to be great specs if you just want to flip something in, you know, 3 or 4 months. But I think between 6 to 12 months, fetch lands are in a really great place right now. So as I mentioned before, I have some Gideons right now, not because I wanted to have Gideons, but because I was unable to sell them once they finally hit the 20 ticket mark, which is what I was looking to do. So I'm still sitting on 12 Gideons. So I wanted to sell them once they spiked up, you know, right in here around 20. They ended up going up to 21, but I would have been happy to sell at 20. That was my goal, and I missed it because my internet went out. They've since crashed by the time I just got back online yesterday. So what now? What do we do now when we're holding 12 tickets? Well, first of all, if Gideon gets down to 15, not only am I not selling my current copies, I will double down and buy more. I'll probably pick up another, I don't know, another 2 to 5 play sets of Gideons if it gets down to 15. Because I still have confidence in Gideon. I still believe Gideon is a fundamentally sound card. Mardu Vehicles is the number 2 deck in the meta. So to me, I do not understand why Gideon is almost back down to 15 tickets. It's stupid and it makes no sense, considering that the lowest price Gideon's ever been at is 13.5. The highest price is nearly 40. And here we are at 1583, so we're very close to his low. And you're just not going to be able to pick up Gideon very often for much cheaper than 15 tickets. Now I realize in about 3 months Gideon's rotating out of standard. So there's a lot of risk in picking up Gideons right now because you don't have a long horizon to wait on. You can't wait 6 months or a year and just give it time. If you pick up these Gideons at 15, he's got to spike, and he's got to spike relatively soon, or else you're going to end up in trouble. But I have complete confidence in Gideon. I'm probably buying at 1583 if you know you're going to need to grind with a playset of Gideons for the next few months in leagues, or you need to play test for a Grand Prix or something like that. Well, pick up your playset now. 1583 is a great price. I'm just getting a little greedy and seeing if maybe he might dip a little bit closer to 15, and then I'm going to double down, buy up some more Gideons, and see what happens. But like I was saying, watching the meta, which is really what drives all the prices online, Mardu Vehicles is number 2, and there's some other fringe Mardu. There's some other fringe decks that are utilizing Gideon right now. So here's just a plain, straight up white deck that 5-0'd daily recently. Doesn't have any Gideons in the main, but there's 4 Gideons on the side, And I can't remember if this other deck has any Gideons or not, but we'll take a quick look at it. Yeah, so here we have a white black brew here. It looks like it's a tokens. So white black tokens, of course you're going to run Gideon. So the thing that is just kind of crazy to think about is that not only is Gideon a staple in the number 2 deck in the meta, Gideon also shows up in just other random decks. White decks, token decks, white, blue, just all kinds of random stuff. And there's just no reason for his price to be dipping right now. Also, for people who maybe want to tinker with some online speculation, but you don't have a ton of money to throw at this, again, Preordain has been a hilarious card to watch. Maybe you've only got like 10 tickets, or maybe you've got like 5 tickets you want to mess around with and say, you know what, I don't have a ton of money, but I'm going to take $5 and see if I can turn that into $10 with some shrewd investments. Well, so here's Preordain, and it's just been following this pattern like clockwork. You know, sometimes the pattern takes a little longer to unfold, but if you're buying right around 30 cents, that's the sweet spot. If you're doing that, it's just very consistently a card that you're going to be able to sell for around 50 to 60 cents, 40 cents at the worst. Usually I'd say 60 cents is a place you can get out. Right now, we're just kind of coming off of a spike, and the spreads on this card, of course, are atrocious. We're actually pretty close to a relative high right now, and even then we're still selling around 45 cents. But I mean, if you're picking them up at 30 cents or close, you know, you're still going to squeak out some profit. So I would not want to be buying or selling Preordain right now. I would just keep holding. If it spikes up and you got any, I'd unload them if you can get over 60 cents. But I would wait for the next dip and buy them again. I would have bought more Preordains right here on 622, but again, I was either out of town or my internet was out, so I missed that buying opportunity. But I'll be picking up some Preordains once they dip again. And yeah, that pretty much covers most of the stuff that I wanted to hit for the week. I do want to encourage each and every one of you to pay attention to the upcoming major events that are going to be unfolding each weekend. Star City Games pretty consistently runs events. We'll see the few occasional Grand Prix things. What we're looking at though is, you know, if you go to the MTG Goldfish website, you'll see recent major events. You always want to be checking the local online meta, but sometimes major events can cause price spikes, and you definitely want to pay attention to that stuff. There was definitely some movement after Vegas. And another thing, just very simple advice as far as your specs go. See all these cards that are spiking on the week and crashing on the week, spiking on the day, crashing on the day. I mean, a lot of people get excited about the stuff that's going up, like, oh, maybe I should get in on this stuff. That's not what you want to do. You want to follow the classic advice. If it's going up, you want to be selling it. If you don't have any of this stuff, well, that's fine, you know, hold tight, give it time. But what you really want to do is you want to be buying stuff that's crashing and coming down, and you figure you can pick it up on an upswing next time. Ahem, Gideon Alley of Zendikar, right here. Number 3 loser on the day. This is where you want to be. Grimflayer down on the week. That is where you want to be. Now, there's some caveats on this, of course, because Grimflayer and Gideon are cards that are cycling out of standard in 3 months. So you got to be careful. You got to have some confidence that the cards are fundamentally sound. But I think Grimflayer and Gideon are both fundamentally sound, and you're not taking too big of a risk if you pick up either of these right now, although I do like Gideon quite a bit better at the moment. Grimflayer is still awesome. Now, Modern is an even better example because you don't have to worry about rotations. You can just look at solid stuff that you think has sweet upside, like, you know, right now, looking at Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf is a, you know, not a horrible place to buy in now. Because so many printings have been occurring, it's kind of pushing the price down slowly, so you might want to wait for this to stabilize. It still seems to be trending downward, but I mean, getting in on Tarmogoyf at 32 is perfectly reasonable. I just you know, I like to stick with standard because the action's a little bit faster paced, but you know, there's nothing wrong with picking up some Goyfs if you want to get in on Modern. And anyway, yeah, so you want to be picking up stuff that's crashing down. Especially, you should always be checking top losers on the week. If a card has lost a ton of value in a week, probably there's something fundamentally wrong with the card where it's at in the meta. But sometimes a card's just kind of having a bad week and it's still fundamentally sound. Those are exactly the kind of cards you want to be picking up. Cards that have been spiking really hard for the week, you missed it. Don't get tempted to try to buy in on, something like Jace Vryn's Prodigy after it's had a $8.50 up week. Stay the heck away from that. So anyway, that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to cover today. You guys hopefully take some of the advice I'm giving you and help turn it into a fat stack of tickets that you can use to enjoy some drafts and have some fun on Magic the Gathering Online. Peace!